Hello, it's Phoenix here. A few people have asked about how we do the videos, how we make the videos with the avatars, where our mouths flap and dance around, all that shit. So I thought I'd just do a quick video to walk you through how it works. So this here is what the project looks like for one of the slushies. So the first step in doing the mouth flaps is using a program called Adobe Character Animator, which is a program that you can use for basically animating puppets using a camera and a microphone. But another function it has is being able to get or estimate what position a mouth is in based on listening to audio and figuring out what letters are being spoken. So first of all, to do that, we need separate tracks of just Cube talking and just me talking. So you export those, file, export, multi-track mixdown, entire session. And rather than exporting the whole thing, there's an option in here in mixdown options to, rather than export the entire master, you just export certain tracks. So you would just click those two and hit OK, and then you hit export. Now I've already exported those, so we don't need to worry about that. Here's a folder with Cube's track, my track, and we take those into Character Animator. I'll just make it big just for the sake of this. You've got a little thing here called a Visine system as well. An example of the mouth shape, so you can see what's happening. So what we do in here is we make a new scene. So into that scene, you drag Cube's audio, and you also grab the Visine system. So you can see here, like right now, it's actually like it's listening to my microphone input and guessing what my mouth looks like based on these Visines. Now we're not actually using this graphic, obviously. This is just an indicate what is actually happening at the moment. We've got the audio here. We've got the Visine system. We'll zoom all the way out. Just drag the Visine system so it's covering all of the audio. There we go. And you go compute lip sync from scene audio. Now this obviously will take a little while. It takes usually about 15 minutes, maybe a bit less, depending on how much audio you've got. So that's like an hour 10. Will be done in around 11, 12 minutes. So we'll just leave that to go for the minute. Now this is an After Effects project that's set up with a whole bunch of different expressions that will calculate based on the audio on my track and Cube's track when we should be moving around and when our mouths should be open, when the hands should be laced, that sort of thing. If we just solo these items, there's a few things that are hidden, but I'll just the circles really. I'll turn those off for a second. So if we just solo these, you can see that's just me. Now there's a version of my wing where the wing's down, which will appear when there's no audio in my channel, and there's a version of the wing where the wing is up that will appear if there is audio in my channel. So I'll just turn that up for a second. See, there it is. Oops, there's the wing. Now you might notice that these are all pre-comps. This timeline here is one composition, but I think you can do in After Effects is put compositions inside compositions. So in this case, like the little phoenix on that's just me is actually broken up into a few bits. There's little eyebrows, the body itself, now the eyes. Now the eyes have a little expression that makes them blink as well, but that expression has just been hard-coded into individual keyframes. So the way it works is that I think I blink every 6 seconds and Cube blinks every 5, so they don't completely sync up all the time. If we go to... Yeah, see? There we go, blinking every 5 seconds or so. I do a little blink. Now here is a composition that has the mouth. So the way this works, this composition only has 11 frames, and each frame is one of the mouth positions. So there's neutral, R, D, E, F, L, M, O, R, S, and woo. Obviously these don't really map all that well, but it works well enough for like a beak speaking the human tongue. And so the reason that's only 11 frames long is that when all those keyframes are finished calculating in Character Animator, I'll get a set of keyframes that'll tell this comp which frame it should show at whatever point we're at in the video. So like, it says like at 8 seconds I am making an R noise, so it'll say show frame 1, and it'll just show that it'll hold that frame for as long as it needs to hold it. That's the basic way those keyframes work. And it's the same for Cube. If you're looking Cube's comp, you just got that arm down, you got Cube's eyebrows, you got her eyes, which will blink every 6 seconds, the body, and then the Visine's mouth, which is all the different mouth shapes that Cube very helpfully drew. Okay, those V-zooms are done. Now, so what we do is we right-click. Those are the V-zooms there. You right-click above it, copy V-zooms for After Effects. And that's just copied a set of keyframes. Let's go back to After Effects. So we go into this comp here, the Cube On comp. And again, we're just working on the mouth layer here. Now, we don't paste it directly onto time remap because time remap reads things as time. So if I paste a bunch of keyframes that just say like 1, 2, 3, 4, it won't know how to read those properly. So what you do is you paste it onto this slider control here. And a slider control is just an expression thing that lets you put a bunch of keyframes for a bunch of different numbers. In this case, like, see it's just a number. So if I paste it, see? Numbers. If I go through it, see, it just says different numbers. And the other thing is I have to make them hold keyframes. So, because like what would normally happen with a keyframe, right? After Effects looks at a keyframe and it goes, okay, well at this time in the sequence, the value should be, 0.01, and at this point in the sequence, the value should be 1. But for every point in between there, I need to travel slowly from 0 to 1. Now, this isn't not a big deal here, but the trouble is that, say, like in between these two keyframes, it goes from 2.3 to 6.11. 2.3 is one mouth shape, and 6 is another mouth shape. But in between, as the number gets smaller as it goes across, it's going to see how it's running through all the other mouth shapes, and it just makes the mouth flap uncontrollably all the time, and it's silly. So what you do is you select all the keyframes, and you make them hold keyframes. And what that means is it tells After Effects, okay, when you hit that keyframe, hold it on the number that was on the last keyframe until it gets to the next one. So see? Now it just stays at 2. 6, 7, 3, and then see that 0? It holds all the way to 0, even though that keyframe is 10. The detail. So, yeah, but anyway, there you go, look. There goes Cube's mouth. Flap, flap, flap. Okay, so that's all we need to do in that comp. Now, the second thing we need to do here is, see, Q will be talking away, but her arm isn't moving and she's not bopping up and down the way I like how it bops up and down. So, what you do... After Effects does it sometimes. You go to the Finder and it hides, and you have to keep clicking. There we go. So, the second thing we use those splits for is in After Effects. So, what you do is you put one of the audio tracks into the sequence. I'm just going to go to the end and mark the working area as the close. So you put that in, and see... Oh, never mind then. I was going to show you the waveform, but it doesn't matter. So what After Effects can do with an audio file is read volume in decibels. What that volume gives me is a number, like the number of decibels, 2.3, 7, 15, whatever. So, there's an expression working down here that then feeds into the expression on these comps here. Then the way the expression works is basically read the number that's down here. And if the number, the expression is basically just a little bit of code. So in the case of making the wobble, the code is check the right channel. If the right channel is greater than or equal to 1, run this bit of code here, which is a wiggle. So a wiggle is another mini expression that is just like move the value 20 times a second, and the amount you should move it is, in this case, whatever the number is on that right channel, which is the number of decibels, times 5. That way, it wiggles when the sound is higher than 1 decibel, and it wiggles more or less based on how loud Cube's being. If there's no sound, which is like, in this case, in the case of the expression, if the value of the right channel is less than 1 decibel, don't wiggle it. Wiggle 0, 0. And I've got the same expression up here on me. I think mine's set a little higher because for some reason my audio always comes in a little bit quieter than Cube's. But anyway. Now there's a similar thing working here with those arm off and arm on comps. So with the arm off, which means the arm down, it's working on the opacity, which is how visible the layer is. So in this case, if the right channel is less than 1, which means the Cube should be still, opacity is set to 100%. You can see it in totally. If it is higher than 1, turn this layer off. And this comp down here, which is the arm up, that one there, it's the opposite. If it's louder than or equal to 1 decibel, turn it on. If it isn't, turn it off. So that way it'll just, as Cube makes a noise, it'll just flip back and forth. Now, the important bit, the bit I should have explained before, is where does it get those numbers? Well, we've got the audio here in the composition. You right click, Keyframe Assistant, convert audio to keyframes. Again, this will take a little while because the computer's a little bit old and it's got a lot of audio to analyze. But what it's going to do now is look at every frame of this audio and record what the volume is. And it'll spit it out as a bunch of keyframes onto this onto this layer here. And then I can copy those keyframes over to Cube's layer here. There's also a little expression here that works to smooth out the value. So it's not like a really jagged on off. It's like a averaging over like 5 frames or something. Okay, while that's analyzing, I'll set up and set off the calculations for mine. I should have done this before. Oh well. It's like, this is the thing. This was semi-complicated to set up, well, a little bit complicated to set up. But now that I've sort of got it automated, it doesn't actually take that long to do all these things. It's really just the calculation time. I have to do these little calculations that take like 15 minutes, do the pasting, which takes a little bit of time. But then after that, it's just render time. All I've really got to do is like punch in the figures and it does the rest of it itself. So anyway, yeah, this layer here, there's the volume for the audio from this WAV expressed as keyframes. So if I run along it, you can see it's changing as Cube speaks. Let's go back to the front. We can take it to channel, they're both the same. And paste that here. And now Cube's comps will read this information here. I can get rid of that, I don't need that anymore. Or Cube's audio. And I can do the same for me. Keyframe Assistant, audio to keyframes, and I'll paste that in there. Alright, my visemes are done. Go here. I should explain, I didn't explain it all that well before. The little expression there, what that does, it converts the raw number here into a time-coded number here. So it is able to read 3.16 as frame 3. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Look. Flapping away. Just gotta turn them into hold keyframes again. Probably need to think about it. There we go. Nice. And my audio keyframes are done too. So there we go. Put them there. Gotta paste them at the same time. Boom. Now, so this comp is more or less done. See? Keeps bouncing around, I'm bouncing around. It did the bounce just because, like, before we had any sort of lip sync going, it was just a way to indicate who was speaking. And I kind of kept it, I tamped it back a bit, but I kept it because I think it's like, it's nice to see them wiggle around a little bit while they also open and close their mouths. Anyway, yeah, so now that's done. So we save this. Now, the trouble with, expressions are great, but the trouble with expressions is that the longer a comp is, the more time consuming it gets for the computer to render each frame. It's sort of this continuous calculation thing. It's a strange thing that After Effects does. So what we're going to do to save it from having to recalculate the expression for every frame, we're going to have it do it now and sort of bake the calculation in instead. So if I right click all these, you can go to Keyframe Assistant, convert expressions to keyframes. This way, it's just going to go through all of these now, just do the basic calculation of what the number should be at any given point, and put it in as a keyframe. So rather than having to make a calculation, all After Effects will have to do is read the keyframes. It sounds weird. Trust me, it's a lot easier for After Effects to do. That said, it will take a little while for it to figure this out. Now, in the interest of transparency, when I tried to make After Effects calculate all of those keyframes at once, it crashed. So I'm just going to do it again, but just one at a time. So just know that, yeah, don't try to make After Effects do that much all at once. It'll crack the shits. Alright, all those keyframes calculated, including the ones in the comps here, the VZemes ones, even though, like, you know, I already had keyframes there. There was the calculation here, so you got to do that. Now you'll also notice that, see, the little equal sign is off. That means that the expression is not currently being calculated. Now, normally what you would do at this point is render the comp out. So, like, make a file that I can put into Premiere and composite with some other stuff. But After Effects and Premiere have this nice feature where a comp in After Effects, like this guy here, this, can be opened in Premiere as like a video file without having to render it, which is a huge time saver. So let's open up the Premiere project. The Premiere project here, this is the last step in the process. Okay, so this is what the Premiere project looks like. This is everything sort of put together at the end. You can see here we've got this little file here, which is a PNG, which has the name of the episode. I make that separately in Photoshop because Premiere does have a text renderer, but it does outlines terribly. You've got the projector screen here. There's a still where it's up, and there's a still where it's down. And then when it's down there, see, it has a hole in it. So all the screenshots, Cube did the edit, so she has helpfully put together a video that has all the screenshots in it that's timed out to the podcast. So in this file here, yeah, see, it's just all of the Cube just put all of the screenshots into a video file that's all turn that off, timed out to the podcast. So that's a lot of screenshots. So you lower that down and see, now you can see it through the hole in the projector screen. Obviously it's still too big, so let's just see if I make that projector screen halfway through see-through, you can see what I'm talking about. See? Now I'll just resize that so it fits in the projector. A little bit bigger. There we go. And let's make the projector screen completely opaque again. And there you go. There's your projector. I've also got these little video files here. That's like a little transition between it being on and off. And see, the video slips down, does a little wiggle on the way down, and it slowly fades in the thing. That was made in After Effects as well, but it's rendered here as just a static file with an alpha channel. And see, at the other end of the sequence, you've got the bit where it comes up, and it's a similar nook, and just a little bounce. Yes, the only thing left to do is pop in the talking animation. So we go back to the Finder, go to our projects, you drag in After Effects. Now what it's doing here is it's sending the After Effects project up to some Adobe servers. They read it, figure out where all the comps are, and then send me back that information so it knows how to read it. I don't know why I can't do it locally. It has to be sent to a server for some reason. Adobe are weird. There it is. Okay. Give it a second. It's going to need a minute. Right. See? That's a little comp or sequence symbol and a link to tell you it's a linked composition. So then we pop it there. There they are. See? Now see, I turned the circles off before to demonstrate to you guys what was going on there. So, because it's linked, because they didn't render it, if I go back here, all I have to do is turn those circles back on. Oh man, poor After Effects, I'm really pushing it. So there we go, my circle's back, Cube circles will be back in a minute. There we go, save it. Now if I go back into Prem, give it a moment. There we go, circle's back. Nice. Now I'll just and that's basically how it's done. From here, all I've really got to do is just trim this up. See, the warning is pre-rendered from before, as is the intro. The only thing I change here is a little text thing. That's the line from a Ruby song that's been quoted by the robot in the intro.
We've become what we feared all our lives.
Velvet Scar.
Yeah. And that's it. See, look, I can even play it roughly in real time.
Can't wait to find out why she's so power hungry.
So, we see a shot of a small girl. Yeah, it's starting to struggle. But yeah, they ended up baking the keyframes like I did in After Effects. That changed it from being a render that could take 12 to 24 hours to about... it renders at about half speed, so it'll probably take a couple hours to render out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All I've got to do is pop in the end card and we're done. And so that's how Anime Slushie, the videos, is made. I hope that made any sense and was even vaguely interesting to any of you. Bye.